Welcome again to my channel, everyone. This is Trey from Traversons, and today we are going to continue that story that we started 2 weeks ago about how I got adopted. I know a lot of you enjoyed that first part of the story, all written by yours truly, and so today I'm going to continue the story for you all. We all are going to enjoy this story together. For those of you who are new here, a very, very special welcome to you. And to all my returning travelers, I want to say thank you for your continued support. Honey, are you okay? Dad asked as he rolled out of bed. He swung himself around and planted his feet firmly on the ground. The smell of sweet lavender lingered in the air as he wondered to himself, what happened last night? Or what didn't? Honey, he repeated cautiously, while fixing his gaze on the clock. The sun was starting to streak its way through the wooden blinds and do its usual dance on Mom's olive brown face when it started to register to him that it was 8 a.m. Hon, he repeated, this time his tone a little firmer as he gently caressed her hair. She moaned with the usual nonchalant pleasure with which he was familiar, but didn't even open her eyes to acknowledge him. What happened last night? He asked fondly. My dad was always the more gentle and tender of my parents. Even when we were evicted when I was in the 4th grade, I remember how calm and reassuring he was, while Mom was crying hysterically and calling the police and landlord every name that she could think of. I don't know, Mom had said, as she clasped the pillow to her empty stomach and thought about the source of the slight tenderness that seemed to be chewing at her belly button. I was waiting up for you last night, he continued, but when you didn't arrive by 11 o'clock, I decided to take a sip of that blueberry daiquiri I had made for us, and boy, did it knock me out. She feigned a smile, but her heart leapt for joy. Whatever he had in mind for that night, she had been spared by a mere stroke of luck. He reached for his robe as he stood up to go to the bathroom. He glanced down at everything else that was standing up and shook his head. It was 8 o'clock already, and he had to be out of the house in 20 minutes if he planned on arriving at work on time. The traffic on the I-70 can be so brutal at this time of the morning, he thought, not to mention the state troopers. He gasped as he entered the bathroom and noticed that the bath he had set overnight was still sitting there untouched. She must not be feeling well, he thought. But even with the questions in his mind, he hurriedly got dressed, kissed her on the cheek, and was out the door. It was 8:17 when he slammed the door to his brand new Lamborghini and revved off. In less than a minute, he was on the highway, singing to his favorite George Strait song.
Let herself go.
Back at the house, Mom had gotten out of bed and dragged herself to the living room. She looked out the window and thought it must be a good time to check on Alyssa. Nikki speaking, how can I help? She hadn't finished before the person on the other end of the phone spoke. Good morning, ma'am. My name is Alyssa McGow, and I am calling to check on baby Alyssa, who was brought in last night by Dr. Abbott. Do you have a HIPAA password? The nurse asked. No, ma'am. I'm the person who brought the baby in. Ma'am, again, I'm very sorry, but I cannot give any information on the patient. She's not a patient. She's a brand new premature baby. She's Dr. Abbott wanted me to call to find out how the baby was doing. Ma'am, again, I'm very sorry, but I cannot give you information about the baby. Before she could say another word, Nikki had wished her a good day and hung up the phone. She looked at the phone, then held it up to her ear again. Confirmed. The mob of bees that was the dial tone told her everything she needed to know. Damn you, Nikki! I will get the information I need on my child, one way or the other. She hung up the phone before dissolving into the leather couch. After a few minutes, she dragged herself to the kitchen to make her morning coffee. The coffee tasted like wet mud on the first gulp. God damn it! She balked as she emptied what was left in her mouth in the trash bin. She had forgotten to add the creamer, which was what made coffee palatable to her in the first place. She made herself another cup before returning to the couch to call the hospital again. They must have changed shifts by now, she thought. Maybe I could get a nicer nurse who would be willing to give me information about my baby girl. The coffee tasted like heaven. One more spoon of that hazelnut creamer and it would be orgasmic. Ha ha ha! She laughed out loud. She was just about to pick up the phone when it rang. Hello? She said tenderly. Mary, it's Michael. Good morning, she answered. Have you checked on the baby today? He asked. I was just about to call the hospital, she said, as she wondered why Dr. Abbott was calling her to find out if she checked on the baby. I am going to stop by there this morning to see how the baby is doing, and I was wondering if you wanted to come with me. Sure, Mary shouted. And before long, she was dressed and ready to go. They drove in silence, each wondering what the other is thinking, but neither said a word. At the hospital, they were both allowed to see the baby. But because no one had claimed to be the parent of this baby, the state was going to have to step in. Mary thought about it and wondered what would happen to her baby girl if the state took custody of her. Dr. Abbott, she said tenderly, if the state takes the baby, we will never see her again. Well, that's up to the state. I'm not going to take her, will you? Dr. Abbott barked. Seeing the disappointment on her face, he lowered his tone. Mary, the baby will be just fine. Little Alyssa looked so peaceful in the bassinet. She had tubes coming out of almost every orifice of her body, but she looked as though she was going to make it. Mary wished she could hold the baby, but they were not allowed. The doctor walked in the room and greeted them both. Are you the parents of this baby? No, sir, Dr. Abbott said without hesitation. I am Dr. Abbott, Dr. Michael Abbott, he said, while stretching his hand out for a handshake. The doctor looked at them both and then looked at the baby. You are Dr. Abbott, and how are you related to this baby? The doctor asked. Dr. Abbott swiveled his eyes between Mary, the doctor, and the baby before he spoke. I operate the Dashra Belly Clinic over there in Cotton Belt. And yesterday, my housekeeper Mary found this baby in the trash. The doctor's eyes opened widely as he wondered what in the world was he hearing. The conversation went on as both doctors expressed their concerns about the welfare of little Alyssa McGow. And like an anxious spectator, Mary stood there and listened to every word. About an hour later, they left the hospital, and this time they both had a lot to say to each other. At the same time, Dad was getting ready to take his lunch break at work. He wondered what happened to Mom overnight. She made no attempts to make love to him on Valentine's night. And that was the first time in their 12 years of marriage. He grabbed his phone and cautiously dialed her number. The phone rang and rang and rang, but she did not pick up. He called her a second time, but this time he decided to leave her a message. Mary, darling, I was wondering if you were okay. I noticed last night you did not even touch the bath water I made for you. And this morning, you did not give me the usual kiss when I was leaving. I hope you are okay, but if there's something that we need to talk about, I am ready to listen. As he bit into his cream cheese sandwich, he wondered what life would be like if only he could become a dad. And with that, we have come to the end of another chapter of the story, How I Became Adopted. If you enjoyed this second chapter like you did the first one, please let me know in the comments below. If you are new to my channel, a very, very special welcome to you. And if you are a returning traveler, I want to say thank you for your continued support. If you have not yet hit that subscribe button, now is a good time to do so. Thanks to you all for listening. Until next time, my friends, this is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters.